What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with Astrodfs bringing you a brand new video. Today's video going over Week 9 main slate quarterback and running backs plays. So if you look on the top right of the screen, if you haven't been here before, I have the keys. So green is cash, yellow is viable stackable, which that's pretty much wide receivers, tight ends, stuff like that. Orange is value. The light blue is smash plays. That's not available until Sunday for subscribers. So if you guys are interested in that, click the link down below. But let's get into it. So for cash, man, this is a fun slate. There's a lot of backup quarterbacks. In a way, there's a lot of value, right? There's a lot of cheap quarterbacks, but if it's good value or not, that'll be interesting to see on Sunday. But Jalen Hurts at 8,000 against Dallas is my first cash play at quarterback. Obviously, I think Lamar could get there, but I really like Seattle's defense. That game just seems really ugly. But Jalen Hurts against Dallas, big division game, right? Usually always is. Dallas has had Philly's number for a long time. Philly's got a couple wins in there, but that's pretty much against backups. So that's something to take in consideration too. But Jalen Hurts, even if they're losing, his numbers playing from behind are crazy. He's like almost nearly perfect when playing from behind. So Dallas is a team known for being, very consistent scoring. This year's been a little more inconsistent, but I think overall consistent. They have a really solid defense, right? But we all know that Jalen Hurts has that rushing upside. He has a rushing touchdown upside as well. But it's the highest total on the slate, and it's at 46 and a half, something like that right now. Dallas giving up over 4 yards a carry to quarterbacks right now, and we know Jalen Hurts can run. Micah Parsons there, the good corners there, stuff like that. Could allow someone like Jalen Hurts to get some yards on the ground. We all know the tush push, the red zone work he gets, all that, and just elite weapons around him. So Jalen Hurts I like. And on the flip side, Dak, right? We like Dak. His price is good. We saw what he did last week. If you played him, you had a really good week. It's $6,500, so a $1,500 pay down. But yeah, same thing, highest total. Eagles, 5th most passing yards in the league. So, against. So that's something that's concerning on the Philly side. You go back and look at Dak's numbers against Philly. He plays really good against Philly. And Philly's given up the 3rd most receiving yards or receiving touchdowns. So that's huge for someone like Dak. Tony Pollard hasn't erupted like a lot of people expected him to with Zeke gone. So might rely on that pass game with how good Philly's run defense is. So Dak, I really like at 6,500. He's one of the better plays at cash quarterback this week. And then we go down. We pass some quarterbacks in there. Yes, I understand C.J. Stroud, right? Geno Smith, some of the names there. But we're going to Derek Carr, 5,700. I have as a tournament play. I don't know why tournament's gone. I'll have to add that. I apologize for that. I'll fix that. And I do apologize. 5,700 Derek Carr against Chicago. High favorite, 8.5 point favorite. Bears defense, 2nd most passing yards and touchdowns allowed. Top 10 PFF grade. And Derek Carr has thrown for over 300 yards in his last 3 games. So this could be a game where Alvin Kamara takes off. But getting exposure to both Derek Carr and that passing offense. And you can have Derek Carr and Alvin Kamara. I think that's a combo that isn't bad at all, right? Alvin Kamara getting a lot of receiving work. Obviously, the Bears add Montez Sweat, but with how the Bears' offense is, and we've seen how underperforming New Orleans' offense is too, getting the ball down the field and just not being able to score. But in this matchup, I believe they will, and Derek Carr could really have a good game if Alvin Kamara doesn't have a really good game. So Derek Carr I really like there. Baker Mayfield's another tournament play for me. 4th best PFF pass block advantage. Texans are giving up the 10th most passing yards per game. If you look at Baker's numbers, not having a high Millie Maker type ceiling, but a guy that can get you a decent amount of points and lower exposure on a slate like this is good. So Baker at 52 as a tournament. Sean Watson, really quick, I did pass him. Watching the injury news on him, if he ends up starting and you don't hear there's, complications, I think he's a really solid play at quarterback this week going against Arizona. If not, PJ Walker then becomes a very good value play. But Bryce Young, the next value play for me at 5,100. Going against Indy, we've seen Indy's games just be over games, right? Indy's defense, very bad. Their offense has been fun, right? Gardner Minshew, turnovers, passing the ball, 40-yard passes. Jonathan Taylor, Zach Moss, killing it on the run. The Colts games are very fun to watch. You don't know what's going to happen. Something good's going to happen for one side or the other. They do have a positive PFF pass spot advantage. It's not a high one. It's a great matchup as far as Carolina receivers. Like I said, the amount of high-scoring games the Colts have had. But we really haven't seen Bryce Young have an explosive game, especially in fantasy, and I don't expect him to. But at 5,100, I don't think it's unrealistic to get Bryce Young 20-plus fantasy points in this game. 20 is kind of the hope. If he gets any more than that, that's huge. Taylor Heineke, another value play against Minnesota at 5,000. 12.4 fantasy points in basically a half. Trailing against Tennessee, they have the best PFF pass block advantage. Second highest completion percentage of quarterback Minnesota's allowed. Another quarterback that doesn't have a high ceiling, but I mean, he gets numbers in there. So at 5,000, getting around 15 to 20 fantasy points is not unrealistic for Heineke in this matchup. Mac Jones is a tournament play, right? I like Mac Jones in this. Washington traded away Chase Young, Montez Sweat, giving up the second most fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. If you look at Mac Jones's numbers the last two games, granted, one was against Miami, but overall his numbers weren't bad. I think it's 4 passing touchdowns in the last two games too at that. So 4,900 Mac Jones. I mentioned PJ Walker. I think PJ Walker becomes a great value play at 4,800 if he is the starting quarterback. But Aiden O'Connell at 4,500 against Vegas is another one I'm looking at. New head coach, or interim head coach, new offense coordinator. Things are going to change, right? We don't know what it's going to look like. That's why I have him as a value, not cash. But there's weapons, right? We saw what Jacoby Myers is capable. We know how elite Devontae Adams is. Josh Jacobs being a good running back, and Aiden O'Connell had that connection with him in the first game. But at 4,500 against a Giants team that is just really underperformed this year. Granted, I didn't have high expectations for them, but I still think they're underperformed highly compared to some of the numbers they were able to do last year. So that's the last one. Now we move on to running backs, and the top of the chain is Alvin Kamara, 8,100. I mentioned 22.7 fantasy points per game. Bears giving up 25.5. 24 red zone opportunities so far for Alvin Kamara since he's come back. Bears are giving up the most receiving yards and receiving touchdowns to running backs, which is where we've seen Alvin Kamara get a lot of his fantasy points. So that's something to watch. Great cash play, right? There's some value. Like if you're not going Jalen Hurts or Lamar, you're paying down for Dak, or you're paying down even farther, you're able to pay up at running back this week. I think it's good to pay up at running back. There's a lot of good solid running back pay up plays. There's not a whole lot of value as of right now for running back, so paying up at running back is definitely a plus. So Saquon is another one at 7,900 against Vegas. If he's in and healthy, I really like Saquon at his price point. I think it's a good matchup top to bottom for him. Josh Jacobs, the next cash play at 6,900. 33 red zone opportunities for Josh Jacobs so far this year. 6th best PFF run block advantage. The Giants have given up 10 rushing touchdowns to running backs, and they're giving up 4.8 yards per carry again. So a lot of positives for Josh Jacobs. His price is down at 6,900. Like I said, we saw what he did the last time Aiden O'Connell was their starting quarterback. A lot of targets check down targets at that to Josh Jacobs. So I like that one. Next, we have DeAndre Swift at 6,600. He's a tournament play for me. What worries me is it could be a shootout. You could see both pass offenses just going at it. Obviously, they're still going to run the ball. That's what Philly does. The highest total on the slate, second best PFF run block advantage. But Dallas has played good against running backs so far this year. So that's going to be an interesting one to see. Right below him, 6,400, another tournament play, Jonathan Taylor. Carolina giving up 4.7 yards per carry against, third best PFF run block advantage. The only thing that worries me is he splits the workload with Zach Moss. They're pretty split. Both have been eating and eating well if you look at the numbers. But below him, 6,100 is Bijan Robinson going against Minnesota. Saw a lot of volume with Taylor Heineke in. They split with Algier and Cordell as far as rushing attempts, but Bijan, I think, got 4 out of his 5 targets with Heineke, and they have the best PFF run block advantage. The game is an ugly-looking game, right? A low total, 37.5. Usually that benefits running backs because they're getting a majority of the workload. They're getting those scrappy touchdowns, so Bijan I really like in this slate. Kareem Hunt, we're watching if Ford is out. He's been limited. We'll probably get the answer by Saturday of if Ford's going to be in. I would expect him in. If he is out, watch that one. Kareem Hunt becomes a huge, crazy good value at 5,500 against Arizona. The next player that we have is a value at 5,400. That's Ramondre Stevenson. You look at his fantasy points, only 10.62 against, and Washington 19.4. So it's not crazy there. But you have to remember Washington lost Sweat and Young, so that's two key pieces that they're going to have to replace on defense somehow. They still have, I would consider 2 of the best interior defender combos in the league, so that's something that is concerning. But Ramondre Stevenson, over 60% of the red zone rushing attempts, has gotten some red zone targets, some injuries on New England's side, but another scrappy game where someone like Ramondre Stevenson gets you 16 to 20 fantasy points by stealing a touchdown, getting some couple of receptions, stuff like that, and getting somewhere close to about 90 total yards. So that's kind of where I have Ramondre Stevenson at, and that's why I have him as value, not cash. It's not all that safe because we see New England's offense struggle quite a bit. Darrell Henderson at 5,100 against Green Bay is another value that I have. Getting majority of the red zone running back work and has gotten the running back work in the pass game as well. I can't spell there. I see that. But at 5,100, I have him as a value here against Green Bay, who gives up a lot of fantasy points, 26.4 a game to opposing running backs. So it's something to look for. And I passed Dameon Pierce. Missed a practice. If he is out, Singletary becomes a value. I think he's at 4,300. I didn't add him to the list yet, just because it's not a great play, even if Dameon Pierce is out. So if Pierce is in, bad play. Chuba Hubbard, though, is a cash play. I have at 5,000. Clearly taking over the running back spot as of right now. We know how quickly things change in the NFL, but Chuba Hubbard has gotten a lot of volume in the last 2 games. 48% of the red zone rushes. Colts have given up 11 rushing touchdowns to our running backs, and I think he's just a great pay down to kind of mix and balance your running back room. If you're playing 3 running backs, he's a solid flex option to have at running back this week. So hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you guys want this sheet, feel free to click the link in the description for our Discord. We have a very cheap subscription package that offers a lot more than just this, but this is kind of a bonus to subscribers. And then on Sundays, like I said, I will have my smash plays for you guys. So if you guys are interested in that, just click the link down below. I will see you guys in the next one.